Hello everyone, my name is Gopi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create RDS and what is RDS, how we use the RDS and how it is different from a normal database which is running inside a server and the database which is relational database service. First of all, RDS is a relational database service which is managed by cloud. So we need no need to take the backup of a server. We no need to maintenance. We don't need to do the maintenance of the database. Nothing. We don't need to do anything. Just we need to create it and do the work whatever you want. And we have to tell the database at what time we need to take the backup. And for example, if you want to do the patching or if you want to perform any maintenance windows, we just schedule it and it will do that scheduled time. So today I will tell you how RDS works. In a three-tier architecture application, the first layer is presentation layer we call, or it's a web server, and the web server will connect it to the logical layer. It's a backend. Okay, and then this backend will fetch data from database. It's a DB. Okay, so when user wants to hit a request, he send a request, so it will go to web server first, and web server will go to the respected service which is in the backend. For example, if we have two or more services like this, and every service will contact DB. So the backend service will go to database and it will fetch the data from the database and it will give to the user. So then user get the response. So backend this process will do. This is called a three-tier architecture. So web layer, backend, and a database. So this database, there are type of databases available. So SQL and NoSQL. So the SQL database is in the form of tables. So we need to create the database, and inside the database, we create a tables. So the data inside SQL database is in the form of just rows and columns like this. In the NoSQL, there are so many type of NoSQL database are there, like MongoDB. It's a key value pair. So the data is in the form of key value pairs, not in the table format. For example, MongoDB is one type of database. But in the SQL, we know MySQL, MSSQL, and we have Oracle, and we have Amazon Aurora. This is also a database, SQL database. If you want to run a database, there are two ways we can create a database. So one is if we create one EC2 instance and we need to install the database inside the EC2 instance. And the second thing is we can directly use the RDS, relational database service, which is provided by cloud. Today we are going to see how to create an RDS in AWS. So the Amazon Web Services is providing a database which is as a service. So now I'm going to show you how to create the database and how to create the tables inside the database. So this is my Amazon console and I have to go to RDS. So the Aurora and RDS. So this is the dashboard for RDS. And so if you go to dashboard, you can see this is the DB instances. And the next one is databases. This one here, it will show what are the databases running inside my console. Currently I'm in North Virginia region, and if I go to Aurora, you can see here there are options. So restore from S3, create database. So we'll just click on create database. And there are two methods. One is standard create and one is easy create. So what this difference is, standard create means you can give your own values, like own configuration. What is the database engine? What is the version of the database? What are the options and the security, backup, maintenance, everything we can select. But if you choose the easy create, it will give like, it will fill some values. We just select or change the username and password. That's it. So rest of the things we no need to do anything. But we'll go for standard create because we need to choose our own options. We need to configure our own database. What are the database engine type and database version, and what is the size of the database, and the username, password, backup, and the size of the database. Everything we can choose. So I'm just select the standard create. And if you scroll down, you can see there are type of databases. Aurora, this is Amazon database. This is MySQL compatible. And one more Aurora is PostgreSQL compatible. So there are two type of Aurora databases. So one is for SQL, one is for Postgres. And next one is MySQL and Postgres, Oracle, MariaDB. So everything is a SQL database here. So what I'm doing is I'm just selecting MySQL. So once I select the MySQL, so we got some information. Is the most popular open source database in the world. So its support database is up to 64 T8. It supports 64 TABs. And we have type of database supports like general purpose, memory optimized. So if you want to know more about the this SQL in the AWS, you just click here and you can learn more about what SQL is providing, the MySQL is providing in the AWS, what is the characters, and how much it supports. So everything we can see. Okay, and the Indian version we have to select. If you click on the Indian version, so there are so many types like 5.7.4 to 8.4.5. So this is the latest one. And what I'm selecting is I will go for 8.0.41. So but it's a default one it is showing. And we have two options. There is a filter options. So we just leave it as is. We just select the SQL engine and for which purpose we are using this, whether it's a production purpose or it's for a dev or test or it's a free tier. So based on the request, based on the work that you're doing, we have to select that kind of template. What it means, if you go for production, you can see there is multi-available database instance. That means it deploys two instances. One is always read and write the data, and the second one is a standard by instance. It's kind of a mirror database. So master database and mirror database. So the master is always in sync with the application, and it will fetch data, it will read data, it will write data. And the standard by database, it will just as a backup. So it is available in the another availability zone, not in the same availability zone. Okay, this is one type. And next one is it's a cluster deployment, multi-AZ cluster deployment, which means it will create one more standard by instance. That means data is available in high. And next one is single DB. That means only one database is there. It's a primary database. It will read and write the data. We no need to have standard by instance. And if you go for dev and test, same options available. But if you go for free tier, the multi-AZ is disabled. We have only single AZ. For now, I'm selecting free tier, single DB, because we don't want any cluster database or any multi-AZ database. We are just doing as a demo purpose. If you go for production purpose or any dev or test, we can choose this one. And the next one is, this is not a database name, it's just DB identifier name. That means if you create a database, it will show the name of the database like this. But what I'm doing is, we can leave it as it is or you can change it. And the username, this is the master username and the master password we can create. So admin, I'm leaving it default. And see, this one credentials management is, if you click on managed in secrets, so there is a secret manager is there, one more service in the AWS. So the database will fetch the credentials from the secret manager. This is the one option, but currently I'm showing self-managed one because I'm going to choose my own password. For own password also, we have one more option, auto-generated password. If you select this option, it will give you a random password. But I want my own password. So I'm giving my own password. So password still neutral. That's fine. Okay. And then instance configuration. Same like EC2 instance, the database is also having instance type, instance configuration, like how many virtual CPUs we need, how much amount of RAM we required, what is the network capacity of the instance. So by default, it is showing db dot, and one more is T3 micro, which contains same two virtual CPUs and 1 GB RAM. There's no difference. So we'll go for T3 micro. And the storage type. This is also same like the EC2 instance, which is we are storing data inside the database. So there are type of storages: general purpose GP2, general purpose, it's a GP3, SSD, and provision IOPS. So provision IOPS 1 and 2 also there, and magnetic. So currently I'm choosing GP2, which is fine. And the default storage is 20. In the EC2 instance, the default storage is 8 GB or 10 GB. For the RDS, the minimum storage is 20 GB. We cannot go less than 20 GB. See, it is giving warning. So 20 is the minimum, and maximum you can go up to 6144 GB. And the connectivity type, this is the important option, that how we are connected to the RDS database. So we'll see. So the compute resource. So don't connect it to an EC2 compute resource, and one is connected to an EC2 compute instance. That means here we can see the two options. So don't set up a connection to compute resource for this database. So you can manually set up connection to compute resource later. Yes. So once you created the database, and then we need to connect it to the database, we need a server, like client we call it as. So we need to set up a client, and then from that client, we have to connect it to RDS. Okay. So, and one more option is connected to an EC2 instance. If you select this option, you need to choose an EC2 instance directly, and then we can connect from that EC2 instance to the RDS. But what I'm doing is, I don't have any EC2 instance running currently, so I'm just creating on don't connect any EC2 instance now, because I'll set up my own. And the virtual private cloud. So inside which VPC we have to create our RDS. Currently, there are virtual CPUs are available, so I'm choosing the default one. So after the database is created, you cannot change the VPC. That means once you created a database inside one virtual network, you cannot move that database to another network. And the subnet groups means if you have a number of subnets, like public subnets, private subnets, DB subnets. You created your subnets based on the requirement. If you have two public subnets and two private subnets and 3 to 4 database subnets, you can make some subnets as a group and you can use that group for the database. If you select this one, currently we have default, only one group is there, which is default, and the public connectivity. So if you choose the public connectivity, yes. So RDS assign a public IP address to the database. You can connect to the database directly from outside or from client, from your local machine, you can connect. But if you choose the no, you have only endpoint, there is no IP. Then what you have to do is you have to create a server inside the same network where our RDS is there. And from that one, you have to connect it to database. It's like a Bastion server. How we are connecting to the private EC2 instance from the Bastion host. Same, we can connect it to RDS by using the Bastion host. And the security groups. So the port number for the SQL database is 3306. So you have to open the 3306 port number in the security group. So currently there are 4 security groups. Just I'm choosing default or any security group. So just I'm selecting one. And availability zone, you can choose any availability zone because it's a single instance. We are not using any multi-AZ RDS. Just I'm selecting no preference. So if I choose no preference means, so the database will, it will configure the database in any of the availability zone. Currently we have 6 availability zones in the North Virginia. So it will create in any availability zone. The resources available in which availability zone, the RDS will create in that one. And RDS proxy, so we don't need to just leave it as it is. So certificate is optional thing. So database is password authentication, yes. Password IAM database, no, I don't want anything, just I want password authentication. And monitoring, currently it's a free tier, so database insights, which is advanced one, and the database insight is standard one. Because currently we choose free tier one. So for free tier options, some options are disabled by default. And the logs, if you enable the enhanced monitoring, it will do the detailed monitoring for our database. And if you have any logs, you need to export the logs. You can choose this option, audit logs, error logs. So if you choose this one, so it will export it to CloudWatch. So we can see in the CloudWatch logs. And finally, the cost. The Amazon RDS free tier is available for 12 months, which means the instance that we choose, db.t3.micro or the second one, T4G, both are free for 750 hours with of 20 GB storage and the 20 GB of automated backup storage. So we can get the free. If we exceed the limit, we'll get the bill. And one thing to remember, RDS cost is very high. So be careful when you're creating database. Once everything is done, just click on create database. If everything is well, it will create the database. And within short time, you can see the database. You see, it is creating. Suggested add-ons for database one means. So there are two options which is showing here, but those are not mandatory. Just close it. We have given, but no worries. Just wait for the database. It will take some time to create the database. Once it is created, if you click on the database, you can see the details that we have given and the details about. So I'll pause the video, and once the database is created, we will see how to connect it to the database from the. So the RDS is created. So this is in available state, and we can see the details of the database that we created. You can see the CPU usage of the database and the class, the number of connections, how many connections are actively for the database. And the region is North Virginia and 1F availability zone. So randomly it created inside the 1F. And if you scroll down, you can see the connectivity and security. So publicly not accessible. That means we cannot directly connect it to the database from outside. We can create from inside the network. We'll see how to connect it. To connect it to the database RDS, we need to have a client. Currently, my client is I created an EC2 instance inside the same network, inside this VPC 018, which is public one. So currently, my EC2 instance is running. I'll name it as a SQL client. And then, first of all, we'll connect it to the TC2 instance. Just click on connect, take this example string, and then this is my git bash. So what I'll do is I'll just log into the EC2 instance first. So then I log in. I connect it to my EC2 instance. Here we have to run a command. That means we have to install a client. We just run a command, and once we run that command, it will install the client configuration, and then we can connect it to database. This is my Amazon Linux. So what I'm doing is I'm running the command sudo dnf install. So this is the command to install the client. So once you run this command, it will install the MariaDB client. Then only you can connect it to RDS, because we need a client. Without client, we cannot connect it to RDS. So once you run the command, it will install. So what it is, it's already available in my mission because I installed previously. So this is already installed. Okay. Then how to connect is just type MySQL -h. Then we have an endpoint. We need to get the endpoint from the RDS. So we'll show you. If you go to Amazon RDS, you can see the endpoint. So just copy this one. After H, just paste it, and then -u username. Our username is admin, and we have to give the -p, which will prompt the password. Once you hit the enter, it will ask the password. So just give your password. It won't appear here. Once you give the password and hit enter, you can see the MySQL. So we are successfully connected to MySQL. Then if you want to see the databases inside the default databases, so this is the SQL query, which will show you the available databases. So currently all are default databases. Okay. And if you want to create a database, simple, just click on, just type create database. And the database name is just I'm giving like a demo. So give the semicolon. Semicolon means it's the end of the query. Once you hit enter, if query is okay, you can get the response like this: query okay, one row affected. And then if again show database, you can see our database. And then if you want to use the database, just simply type use demo. So database changed. You can see previous it is none, now which is in the form of tables. So if you want to see the tables, see empty, because no tables are available inside this. And I will show you how to insert a table and how to insert a data inside the table. I'll show you the demo, just some random data. So the SQL query which is used to create the table is this is the query. I'm telling that create a table, which is a table name, and I want the columns like the person ID, last name, first name, address, city. So once I hit the enter, it will create a table. If you want to see the tables, just click and give the query like show tables. So it will show the tables. And we have the empty tables. We don't have any data inside the table. We just have the person table. If you want to see, select start from persons. So this is a SQL query. So it's an empty set. We just need to know the 4 to 5 SQL queries to see the basic data, create the table, and create the database. These are just basic ones. So once the table is created, we have to insert the data. So what I'm doing is I'm inserting the data inside my table. Okay, this is my data. So insert into the table name. This is the column names and the values are, this is the person ID, last name, first name, and if we hit enter, see 5 rows affected. Okay, so records are 5, no duplicates, no warnings. And then if you want to see the data that we have inserted, just select start from the table name. Now you see the data is inside the table and the table present inside the database. This is the way we created the database, connected to database, and create the database, create the table inside the database, and insert the records. We call it as a records, and we call the statements. These are called queries. Hope you enjoy the session and see you in the next video.